Since I last updated the House, the United States has struck 3 Iranian nuclear sites at Esfahan, Natanz and Fordo. Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth has said their action was intentionally limited. Britain was not involved in these strikes, just as Britain was not involved in Israel's operations. But Britain has long had concerns about Iran's nuclear program. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. The United States has now taken action to alleviate that threat. A nuclear-armed Iran would endanger the immediate region and threaten the global community. This is a perilous moment in the Middle East, Madam Deputy Speaker. Waves of strikes between Israel and Iran have now lasted for 10 days, continuing overnight. I know the whole House will have in their thoughts the many civilians impacted by the fighting. I can confirm today this includes 1 British national injured in Israel. We've reached out to offer consular support. Madam Deputy Speaker, Iran has consistently failed to reassure the world that it was not pursuing a nuclear weapon. The House will recall Prime Minister Gordon Brown calling out Iran for perpetrating serial deception over years after exposure of the fortified Fordo nuclear site. Today, their enriched uranium stockpile is 40 times the JCPOA limit. Iran is enriching at 60%. Typically, a commercial nuclear reactor like that at Sizewell operates with uranium enriched at between 3 and 5%. Iran lacks any civilian justification for this level of nuclear activity, and the International Atomic Energy Agency Board of Governors has declared Iran in breach of their nuclear non-proliferation obligations. Mr. Speaker, as we respond to this fast-moving situation, our first priority remains the welfare of British nationals in Iran and Israel, and our staff on the ground. Our crisis teams in London and the region have been working round the clock. Israel has put restrictions on its airspace since Friday the 13th of June. The British Embassy in Tel Aviv and British Consulate in Jerusalem are open. All our diplomats remain in place, supporting British nationals. And we have bolstered the embassy in Tel Aviv with a rapid deployment team from the UK. We have been working closely with the Israeli authorities to prepare flights to evacuate vulnerable British nationals and their dependents. Yesterday, we launched a booking portal for British nationals. Today, as soon as it was possible to enter airspace. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I can confirm to the House that a Royal Air Force A400 has flown in to Tel Aviv and taken 63 British nationals and their dependents to Cyprus, from where they will be brought home this evening. Further flights will follow in the coming days, security allowing. We will prioritise those with greatest need and contact those allocated a seat directly. We will send updates on future flights to all British nationals registered with the Foreign Office, and I encourage all British nationals still in Israel and the occupied territories to register their presence so they receive our updates. These British nationals should follow instructions from the Israeli authorities. International land border crossings to Jordan and Egypt are open, and commercial flights continue from both those countries. Consular teams are on hand to assist British nationals who have crossed the border. In Iran, airspace remains closed and there has been a near total internet shutdown. Due to the security situation, we took the precautionary step last Friday of temporarily withdrawing our staff from Iran. The embassy is operating remotely, though our ability to support British nationals still in Iran is extremely limited. The House will know that the Foreign Office has advised against travel to Iran since 2019. Those seeking to cross Iran's land borders can contact the FCDO for assistance, including with additional paperwork. and British nationals in the wider region should also closely follow our travel advice. Mr. Speaker, following a US security alert for their nationals in Qatar, out of an abundance of caution, we now recommend that British nationals in Qatar shelter in place until further notice. Alongside our consular teams, Mr. Speaker, our diplomats are fully engaged in trying to end this crisis. We can and we must find a negotiated solution. The window has narrowed, but the risks of further escalation are so great and the costs so considerable for Britain and all in the region that this is the government's priority. We don't yet know precisely how far the US strikes have set back Iran's nuclear program, but there remains the need for a durable diplomatic solution. Strikes cannot destroy the knowledge Iran has acquired over several decades, nor any regime ambition to deploy that knowledge to build a nuclear weapon. That's why we've been working so intensively with the new US administration to reach a new agreement with Iran. Iran and President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, held 5 rounds of negotiations. Britain joined France and Germany in 7 rounds of engagements with Iran as well. Even after the Israeli strikes, I travelled to Washington and then Geneva last week, meeting in the White House with Secretary Rubio and Witkoff. And then sitting opposite Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi in several hours of talks, pushing for Iran to accept the diplomatic off-ramp. And directly after the US strikes, we've been at the heart of a collective drive with partners to get back to negotiations. My right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, has spoken to President Trump. I have spoken to Marco Rubio and Israeli Foreign Minister Saar. We have both been in touch with European and Middle Eastern partners. And this was why I spoke again to Minister Araghchi yesterday as well. My message for Tehran was clear. Take the off-ramp, dial this thing down, and negotiate with the United States seriously and immediately. The alternative is an even more destructive and far-reaching conflict which could have unpredictable consequences. Mr. Speaker, the situation presents serious risks to British interests in the region. Having moved in additional assets on a precautionary basis, force protection is at its highest levels. Be in no doubt, we are prepared to defend our personnel, our assets, and those of our allies and partners. We are closely monitoring how energy markets are responding to the conflict, and we have been extremely clear with the Iranians. Any action to blockade the Straits of Hormuz would be a monumental act of economic self-harm, making a diplomatic solution even harder. Mr. Speaker, we are also maintaining sharp focus on other conflicts in the region. First and foremost, the catastrophic plight of Gazans and the ongoing ordeal of the hostages and their loved ones, all fearing that this war leaves them forgotten. Today I met Ali Sharabi, held in chains by Iranian-backed terrorists, who was released from Hamas captivity only to discover they had murdered his family. Last week, Israeli Defense Forces recovered the bodies of 2 hostages, as well as that of Shai Levinson, an Israeli and British family killed on October the 7th, which Hamas has been cruelly keeping from their loved ones. And Palestinian civilians, 500,000 facing starvation, over 400 reportedly killed in recent weeks trying to access food, while Gazan hospitals have had to stop services vital for childbirth and emergency surgeries. This is appalling, Mr. Speaker. It's unacceptable and it must finally end. The Israeli government must lift aid restrictions, Hamas must release all the hostages. An immediate ceasefire has never been more urgent. Mr. Speaker, the consequences of the current situation are hard to predict. History can offer us no guide after events unprecedented in the region. The government has sought to react quickly to the twists and turns of recent weeks while maintaining focus on where British interests lie. A lasting end to Iran's nuclear programme, a de-escalation of tensions, and security for our people across the region. We will continue to persevere with diplomacy. I commend this statement to the House.